Welcome to the episode of ExCEL with Gabrielle. I'm your host, Gabrielle Jordan, and every Sunday at 7 p.m. I'll be giving motivational advice and entrepreneurial tips to entrepreneurs and leaders just like you. So make sure to head over to my website, excelyouthmentoring.com, to subscribe to the ExCEL Youth Mentoring Institute, and don't forget to tell other people about this because I wouldn't want anybody to miss anything. So in today's episode of ExCEL with Gabrielle, our fourth Sunday guest is a woman by the name of Carrie Wilkerson. She's an author, speaker, trainer, and business consultant, with consulting for big names such as Dr. John C. Maxwell, Zig Ziglar, and Google Small Business under her belt, and being named by Forbes as a top small business influencer. Ms. Wilkerson is a very successful entrepreneur and is ready to share her success story with you. So, without further delay, here is the interview with Miss Carrie Wilkerson. Welcome, Miss Carrie.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
I am so excited to have you on ExCEL with Gabrielle. So let's just jump into this interview. So first of all, you have a lot of things going on. You have a lot with your Barefoot Executive, which is the main company. You are a speaker, an author, and much, much more. But I want to know about your beginnings. What inspired you to create the Barefoot Executive, or what inspired you to just kind of get started on this journey?
Yeah, that's a great question. I was not an entrepreneurial teen like you. I was raised very much, go to college, get a job, something steady, actually get your degree so you have something to fall back on if something happens to your husband, very traditional Southern generational thinking. So I didn't have a big idea or a big business goal. Now, I do remember when I was engaged, my husband said a lot, I think you think like a business person. I think you need to think about having a business. And I just laughed. I just didn't think that was in my skill set. But after I had been teaching several years and had been married about 6 years, we adopted two siblings, Mark and Emily. They're now 19 and 21, believe it or not. And they were toddlers, and that changed everything. I wanted to be home with them. I wanted to be, they had a lot of therapy they needed, and they had a rough start, and I wanted them not to question who their mom was. So I decided to give up my career and be home, but I still wanted to be making some money. I still needed to be making some money. So that's what started me on the path of working at home. I knew there had to be a way. I said, I'm a smart girl. I have a degree. I have a lot of skills. There has got to be a way for me to make money while I'm here at home with my kids, and I'm going to figure it out.
That's wonderful. I like that a lot, and a lot of people, their origin stories in a way kind of start off with that need, which is wonderful that you were able to think of entrepreneurship and were able to kind of adjust to the situation. And speaking of your kids, I was going through the program. I believe it's the income formula, executive income formula.
Executive income?
Yes, I've actually been going through that program now. And and through I think the first session you were talking about how you kind of raise your child and how, I forgot her name, your daughter, how she wants to be an actress, or
Katie, the 12-year-old.
Yes, and the things that you were teaching or are teaching her and helping her to develop being a Broadway star and all that, I think it's really fantastic, and that's almost like a plug for you guys to check out Income Formula, because it's a really, really good system. I'm almost through it, but it's really, really wonderful. So back on topic, I wanted to ask, I know you, as you said, you're an author and a speaker, and the book is called The Barefoot Executive as well. And so I was wondering, what is your focus? What is it that you want people to take from you when you speak, from your book, from, your message?
Yeah, that's evolved over the years too. And it usually depends who I'm speaking to. That's what I used to would have said. I used to would say, well, it depends who I'm talking to. Right. But the fact is, I think my overall message is the same. And that is, number one, nothing is impossible. Nothing is impossible. I have worked at home for 18 years with no business degree, no qualification to do so, no fancy technology. I mean, when I started, we barely had dial-up, and I was in the middle of the country. I've worked at home with kids of all ages and stages. I have a special needs son. Nothing is impossible. And now I'm an international keynote speaker that consults for major corporations because of my expertise in balance and productivity and profitability. And so what I would say is, if I can do it, first of all, you can do it, but nothing is impossible. First, you have to believe the little steps. I never dreamed of being a speaker. I wanted to be a musician like my daughter. I am a musician, and I always thought I would be on stage singing, but my performance just led me in a different way. Nothing is impossible. My almost 19-year-old, she was considered unadoptable. They told us not to adopt her, that she would never bond, that she would never excel, that she would not meet my expectations, which, what a horrifying thing to say about a baby. Right. She graduated high school at your age, and she's now a college junior, and she turns 19 next week. Wow. She has been drum major president of the Honor Society. She's on full scholarship because of academic merit, and she's serving 9 weeks of the summer in the projects in New York City, this kid who is not going to meet anybody's expectations. So I really firmly believe that nothing is impossible. And if that's one message people can get from me that I can encourage them, is to just believe it and then do the work. You do have to do the work. Exactly. Yes. But you have to believe that it's possible first. Sometimes we just talk ourselves out of a dream or out of a goal because we just don't believe it.
Right. And I really, really love, the example of your child and all of what you've been doing. You said you never expected to be a speaker or do some of these things, but you did anyway. And that's kind of similar for me. When I started my business, I only wanted to do jewelry, but then I became an author and a speaker and so on and so forth. So I think that's really important for young people to see, because a lot of the times they're limited because they're so young, and they're said that they can't do so and so forth until they're adults. And so I think it's wonderful that, you're able to iterate that and let them hear that so that they can see and understand that it's very much possible, that everything or anything is possible.
Anything is possible. That's right.
So I was wondering, what is next? As I shared with you, I told or said about some of the things that you've been doing with, being a speaker and author, and then Barefoot Executive, and all the other things, all the different programs that you have. What is next? What is it that you kind of want to do next, or are you kind of
I'm already in the middle of something next. So I'm actually working, instead of working just with individuals, I'm also working with some corporations now that have sales forces. And so the corporation is hiring me to come in and motivate and train their sales forces. So that's very cool to acquire one client, but really acquire 100,000 people at one time. So I'm really loving that impact and that, ministry, so to speak. But I'm also moving more into the leadership realm. So we need some female voices in that space, in my opinion. But I'm working on a leadership series of books. So I've just signed the papers, and I've just committed to 5 books over the next 6 months. Leadership mini-series. They're not going to be huge books, but it's going to be quick reads. Did you read The Chronicles of Narnia when you were younger?
That was my childhood bedtime story.
Yes. So when I was a kid, they were in a little box. There was all of them in a little box, and I always wanted a box set of books. And so I'm creating a series of 5, smaller books on leadership and leading with excellence, leading with integrity, leading, in all sorts of ways. So those will all be done, knock on wood, like October. I'm doing 1 a month for the next 6 months. So pretty excited about that. So those are the 2 main things, switching a little bit to working with a couple of corporations as they're my client instead of just the individuals at the corporation, a kind of a Salesforce silver bullet. They're bringing me in to do their motivation training and all their keynotes, which is nice. Wonderful. And then the other would be switching to kind of a leadership focus through, a new book series. So that's kind of fun. Very exciting.
Yeah. And so obviously leadership is something really important for you. Do you feel like it's something that a lot of people need to learn, or at least need to hear about?
I have conflicting opinions about it. I've resisted teaching leadership for years, supposedly. I've resisted calling it that, I guess. I probably have always just led by example with that, but I've resisted it because, when we think of leadership, we look at John Maxwell, we look at some of these authors that consider themselves experts in leadership, and I've always had a little bit of, who am I? I'm just leading my own little barefoot squad here at the house. Who am I? Okay. But the fact is, and I really believe, as a woman of faith, I also believe that we're not really called to lead. This is something I've been hearing the last few days in songs and on the radio and just in different passages. We're not really called to lead. We're called to serve. But through serving is how we lead. I mean, if we look at the example that Jesus gave, and I'm not going to preach a sermon, but if we look at that example, we actually lead through servanthood. We don't lead because of titles or because we say so or because we amass all these followers. You can have a lot of followers and not be a leader. So I've resisted calling myself a leadership guru or whatever for the last several years, but I'm being called to a place right now to be a different voice of leadership, a different gender, a different generation of leadership, a different method of leadership through serving, leadership through humility instead of through self, promotion, those kind of things.
I really appreciate and respect that view on leadership, because that is really how people should be leading. That's a strong belief and my belief as well, because a lot of people, they call themselves leaders, but it's mostly so that they can do their own thing, or so that they can make people do what they want them to do in that way. But that strong leader that is doing things for the world, that's actually absolutely wonderful. And I think that a lot of people should view leadership in that way, and they should try and take on that type of leadership persona without actually thinking leadership, more so just pursuing that passion and hoping people will see it and wanting to help out or whatever it is. It's that giving and that sharing, and I think that's wonderful.
Right.
So to close off, honestly, this has been a really amazing interview, because you've shared some really great tips and some really interesting things that I never really thought of, and some people may not have thought of. So I think it's really wonderful. But I wanted to ask, I know you've already given really, really interesting things, but is there anything else that you would want to share to a young person that might be starting off in a business or with an idea, or they just have some kind of dreams or goals kind of bundled up inside of them? What would you share to them?
I parent my kids really intentionally. You alluded to an example that I teach on. Katie Grace, my now 12-year-old, wants to be on Broadway, and she really does have an amazing talent. I'm not just saying that as her mom, but as a schooled music person, she's really very amazing. And so when we saw that in her early on, because she would not be denied. I mean, she has to sing, she has to perform, and it wasn't something we could even table. She just had to do it. So I'm not a stage mom. I don't push her. She pushes her, and I just try to keep up with her, honestly. Yeah. But we wanted her to see that it was possible. Yeah. And so for my 40th birthday, we went to New York, and she was 8 that year, and she had been the lead in Annie. She tried out for one of the orphans, and she got the lead, her very first role. Yeah. So we went to New York because I wanted her to see Broadway. And after we saw the show, I had arranged for us to do a backstage tour and for her to see the dressing rooms and meet some of the actors. Right. And then I walked her out to the stage, and I faced her towards the audience. She was 8 years old. I faced her to the audience, and she said, "Mama, there's nobody here." And I said, "But this is your view. I don't want you to get used to seeing the stage from a seat. I want you to get used to seeing the seats from the stage, because this is your place. And if this is your goal, then this is what you need to see every day when you don't want to practice, and every day when you don't want to go to dance, or every day that you don't like a script or a teacher, or you're disappointed after an audition. You need to be able to see this is possible and this is real." And it changed everything for her because she could see it at that point. So what I would tell young people is this. Other people have said, "Oh, but it's such a competitive field," and "Oh, that's so cute, she likes to perform," and those kind of things. I would say when you hit preteen-hood, there is a thing we call the invisible audience that surfaces. Like, what will they think about my outfit? What will they think about my hair? I'm going to have my party here, but what will they think about it? Is it cool enough? Is it not? The invisible audience. Yes. We don't have that until we're about 10. My 9-year-old could care less what people think about her outfits. She could care less what people think about her hair. It's all about how she likes it. Well, then we hit invisible audience, and all of a sudden we start filtering all of our decisions through they. Right. And so what I would say to young people that are watching this, or even parents that are watching this, is we have to be so much less concerned with they. Yes. They are not paying your bills. They are not going to live in your life. They are so preoccupied thinking about themselves that they're not even thinking about you, unless they're being critical to make themselves feel better. We've got to ditch they and embrace what we feel is our calling, or what we feel is our passion, or what we feel like we're good at and we want to pursue. So the number one advice I would say is to forget about they the invisible audience. Don't worry about them. Do what you do regardless. Number 2, I would say with intention. Work with intention. Don't say, I'll see what opportunities come my way. I'll see what comes up or who's coming by. Plan your summer with intention. What do you want to get accomplished? You know, my poor kids, they don't stand a chance because they live with me. But even when they have a sleepover, somebody's coming over, my kids will make a list of the things they want to get done while that person's there. And I'll say, well, why are you doing that? Well, because otherwise the time just slips away.
Sounds like my parents.
Right? The time just slips away. And so I would say that could happen in your life too. If you're not careful, time will slip away. So ignore the invisible audience. 2 is everything with intention. With intention. Choose your friends with intention. Choose your activities, your volunteer things, choose things with intention. Katie is at a place right now building up her resume and her portfolio for acting. And she's great with musical theater, but I am encouraging her to do a commercial and to do a print film, which she has done both now. And the reason I did, they didn't pay, but is so we could put them on her resume, that she was in a commercial, that she's done print work, that she's done some recording artist things, so they can see how diverse she is. So we are actually connecting with people with intention. We post things on social media with intention. We're building her network with intention. So I would say live with intention, and that makes a huge, huge difference. And number 3, I would say be careful who you share your dreams with.
Right.
That means even your sisters or brothers, even your parents. If you have a negative parent, it doesn't mean you hide things from them. It means guard your heart, because if your dreams are precious to you, it's possible they won't understand it yet. I know you have a very supportive mama for sure, and probably the rest of your family. But what I will say is not everybody has that, and we get it. We get it. But find the one person, whether it's a pastor or a teacher or a neighbor or somebody that can help guard your heart with those dreams, or maybe a journal. If you don't have anybody else, find a journal. But if somebody is negative and keeps squashing you, guess what? We'll start to believe that too. Yeah. So you have to be careful what you share. My mama and I are super close, but she's not a big dreamer, or she wasn't a big dreamer. So when I started my business and started really growing and doing, she would say, now know when enough is enough. Now, don't be greedy. Now, that's not for people like us. You know, she was trying to protect me in her own way.
Right.
So I learned what I could share with her and what to keep close until she was ready to hear it. Yes. So those 3 things, guys, I think no matter what your age, whether it's the mama or whether it's the kid, I think those are really important things.
They are. And I hope that, young people that you're watching right now, you're taking notes, and even adults, parents, take notes, because I think that those 3 things are very, very important, and a lot of people maybe don't think about it in that way, or may not even realize how important that is. So I think that's really wonderful. Amazing tips. I only asked for 1 tip. You gave us 3, so thank you.
Sorry.
No, that's perfect. So to end off, I just want to ask you to share with us website, social media, where we can find you and see what you're doing.
Okay. So my main website is carriewilkerson.com, CARRIE Wilkerson.com. And that's where my blog is and my videos and all those kind of things. And then I'm active on my Facebook business page, which is Barefoot Executive. You can find me there. For you guys that are too hip for Facebook, I'm on Instagram under Carrie Wilkerson. And I also have a YouTube channel with about 60, business and advice videos on there too. And that channel is Barefoot Exec.
Perfect. And all the links will be down in the description below so that you can check that out and go directly to all of those links and all those sites. So thank you so much, Miss Carrie Wilkerson, for joining me on ExCEL with Gabrielle. This was a fantastic interview, and I hope the people that are watching now are really inspired and actually even motivated.
Thank you, Gabrielle.
Thank you for watching the episode of ExCEL with Gabrielle. I hope that you enjoyed this interview with Miss Carrie Wilkerson. If you learned as much as I did from this interview and from this wonderfully successful woman, make sure to check out the links down below, her website, her social media, and the amazing programs that she has as well. Also, you can go to my website, excelyouthmentoring.com, to subscribe to the ExCEL Youth Mentoring Institute and check out past interviews with adults and young entrepreneurs. You can also email me at excel@GabrielleJordanInspires.com and send me any questions, comments, or concerns you'd like me to discuss in my next video. And I hope that you'll join me next Sunday at 7 p.m. to learn, grow, and excel with Gabrielle. I'll see you later.